Hello, everyone. This is Ben Ikari speaking. And thank you very much for sparing your time to watch, listen to what I have to say. And this is, of course, concerning what's happening in Niger Republic, West Africa. It is particularly about the reaction of ECOWAS, the organization, regional organization that kind of manages the economic and otherwise affairs of countries in West Africa. Ordinarily, one will feel that in August of 2023, members of ECOWAS, especially those who run ECOWAS, would understand how the world works. But when you consider their reaction, hasty and childish reaction to the Niger Republic's coup, you have no other way of seeing it than that they do not understand how the world works. They did not understand that it is supposed to be about national and regional interest. Especially, there is something called the non-intervention clause as stipulated in international law. It governs members of the international community as laid out by the United Nations and others. And that is that any issue that is internal to a country should be seen as internal and cannot attract any foreign meddling or intervention. This is something ECOWAS members, especially the leaders, should have known if they understand how the world works. But more importantly and specifically, no European country nor America would threaten to invade another European country for the sake of democracy, maybe a coup or a disputed election. It happened in America recently in 2021 when the Donald Trump crisis came up, when he instigated his supporters to come to Washington, D.C., and there was a kind of initial peaceful rally which eventually turned into a riot and a sedition or secession bid. And Trump was seen as being responsible for the actions of his supporters. And of course, it is as such that he has been indicted recently for that offense, criminal as it is. And several other of those who came to the Capitol that day and destroyed, the sacredness of the Capitol have also been tried and very many convicted. And so nobody, no European country tried to intervene. And no European country will intervene militarily in another European country for so-called democracy. Europeans and Americans know that democracy is, for the most part, in theory and not so much in practical. All right? Not in practical terms. One very obvious example is what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. Russia, under the leadership of Putin, unlawfully, illegally, and criminally invaded Ukraine. Russia violated every international norm and invaded Ukraine. The war is ongoing. Even though America and European countries are aiding Ukraine by giving them arms and training, they have not directly threatened to invade Russia. Right? They have not. Okay? The exception to that they are looking at is if Russia should invade any other country that is a NATO member. So NATO has not even seen any reason to intervene in Russia, even when thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people have been killed and very many displaced. So the so-called African leaders in ECOWAS, who seem not to know better how the world works, they hastily, without thinking, without looking at all things, ramifications and all of that, they decide to threaten brimstone and fire. They threaten to militarily intervene in Niger. This is a situation that I was thinking, the kind of situation that I was thinking that Africans were like hoping for one day, when Francophone countries that were being colonized by the French, and of course are still being colonized to this day because of the facts we know, would be able to stand up and force France to leave or renegotiate the terms of their relationship. This country, small country by the name Niger Republic, did that, although it came by coup, military coup. And this is because, as it is reported, the civilian government was not doing things according to the will of the people. The country is considered very poor, yet it is not poor in natural resources. It has gold, it has uranium, resources that France is taking, right? This uranium is helping France generate electricity for his people. But much of Nigerians don't have electricity. And then this man called Jagaban, I'm not sure what that means, Mr. Tinubu, the illegitimate man, because I cannot even call him the P word, the illegitimate person that was imposed on the people of Nigeria, without thinking, decide to cut off, as reports have it, decide to cut off about 150 megawatts of electricity from Niger Republic, putting them in darkness as a way of trying to force the hands of the military leaders to restore the person who was in power, call it during democratic government. But like I said in one of my other videos, if democracy is government of the people, for the people and by the people, then even though it is military coup, it is still democracy, because it is of the people, by the people, and for the people. If those who were elected by way of balloting are not doing the right things, they are not looking at the interests of the people, and the military entity decide to come in to intervene, to try to turn things around, and by so doing ask France to leave and cut off their uranium supply and even gold, why shouldn't that be a thing of joy? Why can't ECOWAS, so-called ECOWAS, why can't the members, the leaders, so-called, so to speak, leaders, rulers, I call them cabals, why can't they see through that and give support? Is this not the same Africa that we've been talking of? We've been talking about unity. We've been discussing one indivisible, strong, formidable, knowledgeable African government that is ingenious. Is this not the same Africa? So why would ECOWAS try to fight for the interests of France, an imperialist, an imperial master, a country that has subjugated Africans? Why would ECOWAS do that? Even when it is obvious that very many people, if not most Nigerians, accepted, celebrated, and are supporting the coup. It's just a change of government by way of force. Nobody died compared to what's happening in Ukraine, right? No European country has threatened Russia that they are coming in. But look at Africans. And that's why the West don't respect us. Because why they will not do this to themselves, they believe that they can always manipulate us to do their biddings. Right? There's no reason Africa should be the richest in natural resources, and it is also the poorest in practical terms. There's no reason Congo should be poor, because if Congolese snap right now and say they are stopping their quoting, the cell phone companies will be in serious trouble. What about cobalt that is used for the production or manufacturing of batteries that is used to run electric cars? There are several other minerals all around the continent, but most of our so-called leaders, who seem to be dead brain, wicked, vindictive, and don't even know their left from their right, but to be begging Westerners, to be taking loans at a very high cost, not even use those loans for the most part in developing their individual countries. A lot of them share it. Just like this Mr. Jagaban, or what is he called, did in Nigeria recently, right? $800 million worth of loan. He shared 30 million or billion, 30 billion to the judiciary, where he might be expecting some favor because of the case that is in court, a case that they were not even able to prove otherwise, because you cannot justify why INEC declared this illegal man winner of the 2023 presidential election when only about 37% of the votes, the results were in. And this result, as INEC is reported to have confirmed at the tribunal, this result were blurred. They were blurry. They couldn't see it. So what did you declare? What did you use to declare if it wasn't bought? And so what is that? Is that not civilian coup in broad daylight? Or no, let me take that back. It wasn't in broad daylight. We saw all that happened during the day, how INEC deliberately refused to transmit only the presidential result, but every other result went well because it was already a planned deal. And then by 4 a.m. in the morning, about 4 a.m. in the morning, that man who is in charge of INEC, who by now should have been suspended if it were in countries where things work, because of what everybody saw, decided to declare the election or declare the result. You declare only 37% of result that is blurred. You couldn't see it. So, more than 60% of the result is yet to be turned in. All right? So, on what basis? Right? So this is the same man that I from the beginning I said was a train wreck, and he is actually a train wreck. We saw it from day one during his so-called inauguration, an illegitimate inauguration, where he announced that petroleum subsidy will no longer apply in Nigeria. Yet there was no plan whatsoever as to how to manage the effects of that. And then he borrowed this, they took this money, 800 million worth of loan, shared 30 billion as reported to the judiciary, 70 billion to the National Assembly, where maybe he also feel he need their support, gave them 70 billion to change their couch. Can you imagine that? and 8,000 each to each family or individual who say about 12 million of them as the report went, to help them, during the fuel crisis that is just rampant in Nigeria. A country that stole oil from Niger Delta. Those who have power in the north, the Hausa Fulanis and the Yorubas, who claim to be majority only in wars and not in actual humanistic action. Because if they are majority, they should have devised means to create more, to add value to their number, and not to use obnoxious laws to steal land where oil is found. But of course, this is a different topic altogether. All right? But that oil they're stealing from Niger Delta and are willing to kill anyone that stands in their way is what's making them greedy, what's making them dead brain, and all of the other things that you can think of. So it is this same mentality that is used in dealing with other neighbors, in dealing with Niger, all in the interest of France and other imperialists. Yet we are fighting for one united, indivisible, bold, fearless, and smart African government. So, ECOWAS, please stay clear from Niger, because it is the common people, it is the poor people that will be harmed, and there will be ripple effect. It will bounce into Nigeria, given the boundary, the border, proximity. It will affect several other West African countries. So just think, just learn how the world works, instead of you to fight for the reform of the United Nations, so that Africa will have representatives in the Security Council. You are here trying to flex power over a small Niger Republic. That's not good. That shows you are dumb, right? It shows you don't even know what's happening around you. It means the imperialists can manipulate you anytime, anywhere, any day, any minute, to do their biddings, to destroy your own people, just for them to continue to survive. All right? So please back off, and join us to bring about one united, peaceful, prosperous Africa. We have every reason to use our resources, to add value to our resources, so that the African child will no longer go through the kind of suffering that she goes through today for decades, and it doesn't seem like there is any hope inside. All right? Please, I beg you. Thank you.